What's the word? What's going on? Oh, shit, can't talk today, man. You can tell we had a little time off, man. But what's the word? What's going on, good people? Back at it again. Book 2, chapter 33. Another week in the books, man. Spike Lou, how you feeling?
What up, though? I'm feeling good, man. How about yourself?
Doing well, man. I'm your co-host, co-author, Rich, here again. And we are not by ourselves, man. Right on time, man. Right at the start of things. We bringing in Nick.
What's going on?
Nick, I don't want to say, I don't know what moniker it is. Is it just Nick? What is it right now, man?
It's the podcaster formerly known as Duce. You know what I'm saying? That's what they call me. Nicky Duce is what I used to be called, but I'm getting older. I'm trying to give up the dark liquor, so that's why I'm on the tequila now. So I haven't come up with a nickname for that yet. So you call me Nick. Call me Nick.
Yeah, man. Nicky Blanco.
Nicky Blanco.
Nicky Blanco, maybe. Hey, that might be it. Hey, man, even though I'm normally with the Resposado, but
yeah, Nicky Respo, man, we'll figure it out, man. That's funny you say that because that's how you know you transition into the. You ain't unk yet, but you phasing out of YN when you give up the dark.
I had my sister had my niece in 2012, so I've been unk for a minute. So I've been gradually getting into that unk stage now. She 13 now, so it's crazy. Like I'm like, I'm unk status.
Nick tried to be YN for the longest, man. I had to bring him home.
I have not. He just don't like the fact that I was outside the same time he was, and I remember stuff. I remember stuff more than he do. And he just hate that. He be like, "There's no way you were outside." I'm like, "I'm telling you, nigga."
I always get weak when you say that because I hear you on deck and things, and you say you was outside for a certain moment. And even now I'm sitting there like, "Hold on, man, how old is Nick? Nick couldn't have been."
Listen,
he was on the porch. He wasn't outside. He might be on the porch.
No. I've always been the youngest. I'm the youngest in my family. I'm the youngest. I've always been the youngest in most rooms, and I just, I've been able to be the young cool nigga, like, oh yeah, he cool, like he could kind of hang with, you know what I'm saying, like, yeah, exactly, that type of shit, you know what I'm saying. I ain't been too, but I know when to speak up type of thing. So it's just like I've always been around stuff, and I've always been aware. So like that's why like a lot of stuff that y'all recall, like I was like, that's what I'm saying. I remember that too. I just I probably wasn't old enough. I shouldn't have been in them rooms, but I was there.
Hey, Spike Lou, man, we get after it in Cincinnati, man. So it makes sense. It makes sense, man.
Yeah, I'm about to say I'm repping the Bengals right now. You feel me? Like I'm out here.
Got the Reds on, man.
But I could. Well, everybody got that since he had. You know what I'm saying? Niggas from New York out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm in Connecticut right now. Niggas from New York, they be trying to swag and jack the style and all that shit. But like, yeah, nah, that's the Reds.
Rich
right
just toured the stadium.
Field day. I got season tickets for the Bengals, and they had a field day. So I was back in the city for the weekend.
Yeah. They just renewed the lease. It just got passed. So they was this close. They was this close to be like Bengals maybe getting up out of there.
Y'all niggas gonna be playing on the riverfront.
Hey,
I'm talking about like relocated the team, nigga.
City disappeared, man. City, they burned the city down if the Bengals moved.
I don't know why. Shit.
And you would say you're talking about some 4-13. And I was like, man, I'm in Cincinnati, not Dallas. Say that 4-13 shit for Dallas.
4-13 season, man.
Yeah, man, but long overdue.
I'm glad I got to connect. I'm glad y'all Cincinnati brothers got to connect, man.
I hate that. I was telling Lou, I hate that I missed the episode with Portia and them because I was like, bro, like that's long distance fam. I go, me and Portia go way back. She was a part of No Disrespect early. Yeah. That was a podcast that I did.
It's gonna be some disrespect if Portia involved. You do know that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
She's somebody that I love keeping around because she keep it a bean.
Fact.
Nah, that's 100%, man. Shout out to Portia, man. Like really one of my favorite, not just podcasts, but just people, man. She always
she good people.
She great people, man. And she even though she's grown. Like each and every year, she grows into better understanding. But she definitely Portia.
Nah, don't let that fool you. She's still a nigga at heart. Ain't nobody trying to hear all that shit. She'll still cut your ass out of you if you go out of pocket, out of line.
It's funny with the people that give off that energy that like I can't fuck around with this person. Like she definitely 1,000,000%.
It's up
Yeah,
front.
you can tell, like, nah, you was bullshitting anyway.
The funny thing about Portia is she'll try, like, she might enter. You can see her calculate shit in her head. Like, damn, should I just? I'm like, nah, she about to go off the deep end right now. Here it comes 5, 4, 3, 2, and it's taking off, man. But shout out to Portia, man. But we'll set that up, man. We'll have us all on. Have Portia on as well, man, and have that Cincinnati connection for sure. Before we get started in today's episode, chapter 23, we do have some comments. We were going last week for Juneteenth, and then we'll probably be off next week for that other holiday as well.
That's what
the other holiday. That's what we call it now, the other holiday. But Juneteenth is the one we want to acknowledge. But since we're taking it off, we might as well take it off next week too, and that's going to be part of our conversation. But we did have some comments from chapter 32 with Big Jeff, Public Enemy B, our guy, man, big time supporter. Wrote in a couple comments, in particular to the dad conversation, the dad and the son. He mentioned, I think what the dad did could be labeled as toxic, but there's no malice intent behind it, and that's what should matter. And with the Wale Kai thing, sometimes you just got to realize that not everybody knows you will kill your ego. One of the 4 agreements is to not take everything personally. You should consider that if something like that happens again. I agree. I think at this point, that's just a Wale trait. And then we got Ash, man. Ash Bash 32. Shout out to Ash, man. That's Mo.
Happy birthday to her. I think today her birthday.
Is it Ash's birthday, man? Shout out to birthday. Yeah. Shout out to Ash, man. Happy birthday to her. She said, I won't say it was toxic masculinity, but him saying that you get that from your mama's side is a bit much. Because what's wrong with that? It implies his mom's side doesn't have men on it, uncles, cousins, etc. So I didn't like that statement. I ain't gonna hold you. That is a. It's funny hearing a woman comment on that because I think if it was like that, I could see her taking it that way. For us,
I could see Nick responding to his son like how dude did. Did you see the comment, Nick? He froze up.
Did he? Okay. Yeah. Did you see the comment about the dad?
The
son was taking a picture. At Rick Ross car show, taking a picture in front of the car. His dad texted him, saying, "Man, why you taking a picture in front of another man's car? You get that from your mama's side."
He said that's some groupie shit. He said, I'm a boss. I ain't never did no shit like that. I can see you sending that to your son.
What was the
You said what was
no,
the
I'm
quote?
just saying.
Nah, no. Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's just delayed a little bit, I think.
No, I was just saying, like, I was thinking, like, I've been thinking about that lately. Like, if and when I have a son, like, how would I deal with them in certain situations? You know what I'm saying? Like, because obviously it's a kid, so you want to kind of raise them in a way that's like you're guiding them, but then it's also some shit that's like you want to nip it in the bud. You know what I'm saying? Like,
facts.
Like you got to set the tone early.
Yeah, let him know who he's supposed to be.
Exactly.
That's interesting, man. It's always gonna be interesting, man. Whenever parenting comes around, whenever that day comes, if it comes, the whole 9, man. Just how you gonna raise your kid? What type of kid you gonna be? Because you can't pick that out. You can't control that. You got an image in your head how you think your son should be or your daughter should be, but
I was listening to your man's podcast, Rich, Memphis Bleak, because he's much better. He's a much better podcaster.
What you think about this pod? I meant to ask you about that. Did you listen to Apartment 3D?
I listened to the first couple of songs. We talked about it on Deck. I was surprised. I liked it so much.
Okay, then.
All right, I don't fuck with Memphis Bleak at all. But he was talking about his son on his podcast, and he was like,
"Yeah, what did you think? Let me ask you that. Explain what it was, and I want to get your thoughts on it."
So he was saying that his son was like a fashion dude, like he was like a Kanye enthusiast. Well, I won't say Kanye enthusiast, but same lane, like really into fashion. And Bleak was like, I just wish he was like in this playing ball or something that I could relate to more. But at the end of the day, he is what he is. Him, you know what I'm saying? He do what he want to do. And I felt like that was really interesting in the sense of him admitting that I would rather him be a ball player, but he's just not into it. And you could tell that he has to measure like his expectations of what like masculinity is and manhood is based off what his son's like, because he sounded slick disappointed. You know what I'm saying? Because who was he talking to? He was talking to Ja Rule. Because Ja's son like is an athlete and shit like that, and he was like he wished his son was like that, but it is what it is.
That's the part that I wanted to ask you about, because when I was listening, and if you didn't listen to the Rock Salad podcast, the first episode, kind of have to listen to the conversation to get the full context. But there was a little sense of disappointment.
Regret.
Disappointment,
regret.
It sounded weird. Not in a way to make you think like, oh, we don't like his son, but not a way that you would think a son would, especially coming off the heels of watching something like Forever.
Right.
Didn't come in the same vein.
Good point.
It sounded weird. It sounded a little bit awkward. And I'm sure he didn't mean it like that, but that's just how it came off and say, my son is fashion. Matter of fact, he said, if you don't even talk fashion, he can't talk to you.
Right. It's like I gotta lead with it when we talk about school or anything. I gotta lead with fashion.
Yeah.
Like you like the new Balenciagas. All right, cool. You got to make these grades to get them or whatever it may be. So.
Yeah, but he even said like I kept him away from all the stuff that I did. So there's a catch-22, right? So you keep your son away from the stuff that you did. So you can't be surprised when he end up
like what you totally aren't.
Yeah.
That would be one of my biggest fears of having kids. I think, again, I don't have kids. I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think people who did grow up like that, they become to see success. They try a little too hard to remove their children from that aspect. And I understand it. Like, I didn't grind this hard, so you guys would have to struggle. Like, I hate when people be like, the rich people, I ain't leaving my kids nothing. I had to get like, nigga, what's the point of that? Like, I'm going to work to get rich and not leave my kids anything, so they'll know what hard work like. I don't subscribe to that. But I think there's also a fine line in I don't want my kids hanging in certain places or going to certain schools because, I don't think that's real or whatever, but then them turning out a certain way that you don't approve of.
I think it's more about you just have to be there for them. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like even growing up in the hood or whatever circumstance, like kids turn out differently from that too. Like not every nigga from the hood is a hood nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
that's true.
It's a spectrum of them. You know what I'm saying? So it's just more about like who was around. That's the one thing that I've seen that's like my pops and my mom was around. Like those people, even if they're the mom and dad are together or not, like as long as you're around, that's the main difference where you'll see.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like that's the main difference that I feel like you'll see.
Nah, that's a great point. And I'm always interested, just kind of pivoting a little bit. I'm always interested in origins. And I know you're from Cincinnati, Nick. But you and Spike, man, y'all been recording together for quite some time. I know you've been in the podcast space, man. Talk to me about your start in this space. First of all, how old are
you? Damn, you trying to just get my age? I like keeping it a mystery a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I know you do. I know you do.
Just know I'm alive. That's all you need to know is I'm alive. You know what I'm saying? And I've been living for a minute. Now, I'm gonna let niggas do math on. I was born in the Lord of our Savior in 93.
Okay, got you. All right. That's right.
And how I got into
older than I thought you older than I thought you were.
Yeah, I got into the space probably back in college. I went to the University of Cincinnati. Shout out to them. Not shout out to them because they're doing a lot of goofy shit right now. But I got into the space. I was on college radio. I was trying to get into broadcasting. I was originally trying to do sports broadcasting. So that's why I was really going into like the radio broadcast media sector. But obviously with college, as you know, if anybody who's listened to No Disrespect or was aware of it, or even just listen to me comment on, Dead End Hip Hop or, Frames Per Second, Dead End Sports, we let it fly. We unfiltered. So we had a lot of rules and regulations on the college radio station. So that's why we went into podcasting. That's why we developed No Disrespect. This is back in 2013, 2014. And then after we all graduated, it was me, my homie Swaff, my homie Willie, and a couple other guests, Imani as well, our friend Imani. We all went to the same college, and we just all got together and started something. And then in 2018, after a few years after we graduated, we all moved to Atlanta around the same time, and that's when I was still trying to find a studio space to record No Disrespect at, and that's when I was like reaching out to a bunch of different podcast spaces and whatever, and I linked up with Dead End Hip Hop back in, it was the summer of 2018. Yeah, when I first a few months after I moved to Atlanta. And then I started working with them from there, and we just kind of developed a relationship. And I helped create or expand their network, because right now, I think at the time they just did obviously Dead End Hip Hop, and then they were doing Dead End Sports a little bit. But I helped create Frames Per Second with myself, Ken, and Rod, and we just all back. That was in 2019, like February of 2019. I remember that because the first film we did reviewed was If Beale Street Could Talk, the Barry Jenkins movie. So we did that, and then like from then on, I kind of just got more ingrained into the Dead End space, and then that's how I met Lou. I forgot what episode you was on featured. It was you and someone else that wasn't. It wasn't AB, obviously. It was you. I think I forgot who else was there, but that's how me and you linked up originally, and then I forgot how we kind of came back around. I know you joined Dead End Sports, but I forgot how it came back around.
I don't remember that either. I was trying to think of that while you was talking, so I could piggyback off of it, but I don't.
I just remember you were there, someone else was there, and I think we were recording.
It's Chris Platt. It was there.
Chris was there. So it must have been. It may have been Dead End Sports, because I know he does hip hop.
Nah, it was. Was it? I don't remember what it was, to be honest. I know I met Ken through Chris.
Yeah,
and because they came to the live show that we did on deck, and then me and Ken got cool. He asked me that I want to come through and record. Well, actually, I may have invited him to on deck when we recorded with Chris. I can't remember how that went. And then you and I met when I was there recording and developed a rapport. And me and you used to go kick it. We shared the same barber and shit. Like, but I don't remember the beginning. I don't remember what clicked. I don't remember what it was.
Because you put me on the Kamani, right? I think.
Yeah.
Because I was bouncing around with different barbers, and then like you put me on the Kamani. Shout out to Kamani. I must say, when I come into town, of course I'm gonna pull up on him. I gotta pull up on him.
He's funny. It's still funny as hell.
Yeah.
When you moved to Atlanta, was it for the purpose of recording? Like, what was your goal when you moved out to Atlanta? It sounds eerily to Spike when he was.
It was because it was like I knew what I wanted to do. I couldn't do it in Cincinnati. So like I was like, I love the city, but I gotta leave. It was kind of remind me of that Common line. I had to leave a house to get a household name type of shit. You know what I'm saying? It was just like I knew what I wanted to do. I reached the ceiling to where I was at, and Atlanta was like the happy medium of like being far away enough to where I could develop myself as a individual, but still close to home where I could just take I-75 straight up and get back to the city. Because I thought about moving to like Cali, Texas, Houston, or a few other places. But I was like, if something happens with the family, I can't get back quickly as I wanted to. But like, it was like a 6.5, 7-hour drive back to the city.
How familiar are y'all with each other's like side of town? Like, where you from, Nick and Rich?
I'm from. Well, he should be familiar. I mean, everybody should be familiar now based off of
Nazis. Cincinnati.
Yeah, like Lincoln Heights. Lincoln Heights is like a well-known area. Like I can tell you about Zone 15 is well known. Just like how they talk about Atlanta zones, East Atlanta 6, Zone 6, and all that stuff. Like it's like Zone 15 is known as Lincoln Heights is one of the early black neighborhoods in the 1920s, like historically known for like free blacks that transitioned to the north. That was a area that they settled in. And that's most people now where because of the Nazis tried to come through and thought shit was gonna be sweet, and they realized this is a historical nigga spot type shit.
Spike, and you might not remember this, Spike, but I remember we were talking about that, and I told you, I said, man, if you from Cincinnati, the first thing you say is of all the places in the city you go to, you went to Lincoln Heights. You thought you was gonna pull this off in Lincoln Heights? Like that shit was never gonna fly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like Lincoln Heights, Lincoln Heights, Avondale, and maybe probably some parts of over the Rhine. Yeah, over the Rhine back in the day for sure.
Back in the day, now it's gentrified.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can still cross Liberty and still be. I grew up in North College Hill.
I was gonna say North College Hill got that little reputation too. Some part,
so
like during my time, but like it kind of, I think it got a little bit more quiet over the years, but. Over the Rhine, Lincoln Heights, and Avondale were like the main ones. But like, if you go in there after dark, you got to know somebody.
Yeah, and you got to know. Yeah, you kind of Nick. Did you play sports growing up?
Yeah,
that's a big thing in Cincinnati too, man. If you come up like a youth sport, especially football, By the time you get to high school, man, you kind of know how to navigate the city, and you know kind of everybody, at least one person from damn near every high school. Because in Cincinnati, the thing is, you meet somebody.
I was wondering, was it like Nashville?
Where you go to school? Like that's the first thing.
Exactly.
And on top of everything you need to know off that answer.
And on top of that, I was a part of the Upward Bound program, which that was like a accelerated college program for kids who are going from middle school to high school to get like college credit before you go into, make that transition. So that was a mixed gumbo of people from different districts. Like, so like I got to meet people from North College Hill, Walnut, Winton Woods, like all the area, all the high school areas. So I got to know them. And of course for football, at the time that I was in football, he was a grade, I think a grade or two ahead of me, but Spencer Ware, who was like, he used to play for LSU, and then he won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks, I believe. He was like the number one dude. Like I forgot what year it was, but it was on Sports Illustrated or like ESPN, where it was Spencer Ware, I think Andrew Luck, and somebody else. They were all on like the same kind of photo image, and like so, like he was a really big star at the time we were coming up.
That's interesting.
High school too.
I was wondering with Cincinnati like Nashville, and it sounds like it is in the sense of like, at least the black people, like it ain't nobody really like of your age group, if you was outside that you don't know or can't make like one or two phone calls or somebody being like, oh yeah, I know, buddy. Because there's a situation going on now in Nashville where Charleston White was just down there. And his podcast dude had him down there. And the podcast dude must have told him something where Charleston White felt like he could get online and talk crazy about Nashville. Niggas like, y'all niggas is broke. Y'all couldn't afford to bring a little baby down here, this, that, and the third. And he got that information from the nigga that does the podcast. But the dude got a popular podcast, it's on Charlemagne's Black Effect. But the crazy thing is nobody from Nashville knows the nigga. And he swear that he from Nashville, and Nashville just not that type of city where you can be like, oh, I'm from here, and don't nobody know you. Yeah. Like nobody knows this dude, but he swear he from the east side of Nashville, this, that, and the third. And I'm not saying that he's not, but it's just really interesting because Nashville is a city where like it take maybe 2 phone calls. If you ain't even got to really be popular. Like you could just be like, some people know you, and your 2 phone calls, motherfucker know who you is, what school you went to, who your people is, all that.
I was someone kind of like that because like my family mostly from Uganda, so like most of my family's overseas. But like I was because I grew up in Woodlawn, but like I grew up on Marion Road, which is like literally right down the street from Lincoln Heights, like the entryway of Lincoln Heights. So the same zone and everything. So it's an African household, but in a black community. But I knew enough. I knew someone who knew everybody. Like I was like, again, like you said, 2 to 3 degrees separation of knowing somebody. So it's like, but obviously since I had that viral moment, niggas can easily point me out. You know what I'm saying? So I can't hide no more. Usually I like being ducked off. You know what I'm saying? I like knowing. That's my thing. That's how I like to move. I like knowing people, but being able to be ducked off. But ever since that whole situation, I was like, yeah, bro.
People approach you after that. Like they seen you, and they like. I went
the fall after that happened. I went to my homecoming at University of Cincinnati, and one of the homies that I knew, he would hit me up. He was like, "Bro, so what happened?" You know how niggas would just be talking to you regular, like, "Hey, shit happened," and all of a sudden they hit you with the, "So, bro, what happened?" I'm like, "All right, bro, you think I want to talk about that with you? I ain't seen you about 5 years, nigga."
Yeah. Like, hey, niggas is crazy though, because they will hit you there. This is what they've been wanting to say the whole time, and then they'll hit you. Man,
they will want to tell you the whole time. They hit you with the, they hit you with the, "Oh, where you been at? Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, how your family doing? Good. So what happened though? Like,
oh, that's funny as hell, bro.
Man. Shout out to UC homecoming, man. Like it's a big time event. It's funny though, like Nick just said it. Cincinnati is about 2-3 degrees separation. It's big, but it's small. You know what I mean? You can navigate your way, all types of different neighborhoods, different size, but chances are you know somebody from somewhere. It ain't too hard. But it's always fascinating to me, and I hear this from other people, man. People from, because I tell it, you got to be from there to really understand it, man. Cincinnati ain't necessarily like the rest of Ohio. We are our own pocket. You know what I mean? We ain't We ain't like you ain't gonna find a ton of Ohio State fans in Cincinnati. You ain't gonna find like we our own little thing, and then it's the rest of the state. So we specifically say we from Cincinnati.
I keep telling people that they don't understand. They be like, "You ain't a Cavs fan. You ain't." I'm like, "You ain't Ohio." Like, no, nigga. Yeah, like I don't fuck with most of Ohio. Like, yeah, I got some people that I know in Columbus. You know, I got some homies in Cleveland, Youngstown. Like, I got homies, even out in Troy and in Toledo, all that shit, Akron, but in Mansfield, nah. Outside of them niggas that I know, I don't fuck with most of Ohio. Like, no, I only fuck with Cincinnati, and you know, and everything Cincinnati. Like, I'm a UC, I'm a Bearcat fan for football, basketball. Reds, Bengals, like that kind of shit. That's why I'm a Knicks fan basketball wise, because like I don't fuck with Cleveland. I didn't really. We got a rivalry with Cleveland. Like, why would I fuck with they city like that? Nah.
And I tell people, man, shit. I said Indianapolis. That's closer to Cincinnati than Cleveland.
Yeah, it is.
Fuck around, be a Pacers fan before you be a Cavs fan.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? As far as proximity goes, it's funny, man. One thing. The very first time I heard you, Nick, it was on an episode of, I don't know if it was Another Week in the Books or if it was on Deck. And I remember asking Spike, it was about a little bit over a year ago, because I was in Phoenix at the time, and I asked Spike, I said, hey, man, does Nick do stand-up? He was like, nah, he ain't no stand-up. I could have sworn you was a stand-up, man. Have you always had this? Have you ever heard that before, or have you always had this personality?
I had a couple homies ask me to do stand-up. I was like, that's not me. That's not my speed. I probably could if I wanted to, and I really like. To me, stand up is like, even if you got talent or not, as long if you keep working at it, you'll get there. Like,
you can make people laugh.
Speaking in front of people, you'll get comfortable telling jokes. You can get a rhythm. Like with practice, like they say, practice with anything. But like, I understand what is funny to people for most part. I understand what's controversial to people, and I like blending the two sometimes. But nah, I don't give a fuck to entertain people. Like, I ain't doing a dog and pony show like that. So like, yeah, I just like making my friends laugh. That's it. Like, I like making the friends laugh and the biddies laugh. Those are my main two categories.
Nick, one of the few niggas I ever met, his whole friend group funny.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Rare that the whole friend group funny, bro. I was kicking it with this nigga doing football season. This nigga got some funny ass friends. Nigga Willie, did he?
Willie, and Portia know Willie too. But like, I'm not the funniest person in my group.
Nah, he ain't even the funniest.
That's the thing. That's the crazy thing that people know. I'm like, I'm not the funniest person in my group. I'm not the most outgoing. I'm not the most creative. And I'm like I defer that to them. Like, I am like, as a collective, like, I'm probably just the scholar. If anything, as crazy as it sounds, I'm the scholar of them all. But everybody else, like, they have their own personality and they funny as hell. They all like, that's why I be wanting people to meet my homies to see like what it's like for have me to grow up around them. But like, yeah, to Lou's point, like they all way funnier than me, way more bigger personalities.
Speaking of your crew, man, how important was it for you to move to Atlanta with them versus by yourself? Do you think you would have probably still had the same success or outcome if you didn't have like a support group versus trying to thug it out by yourself?
Originally, I didn't have them in my plans at all. Like, I told them like right around the time I was leaving, because like it was around 2015. I was like, I got to get up out of Cincinnati. I didn't really leave Cincinnati until 2018, but at that time I was telling them, I was like, look, I got to leave. I feel like I need to go. Atlanta's the place that I'm trying to go to. And I'm not going to say that I talked them into Atlanta, but they were just like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe we all like, because I had one home. Willie actually came down to Atlanta 6 months before I did. And then he kind of gave me the landscape, because we all visited there a lot just to kind of see what it was like. Is it doable type of shit? You know what I'm saying? You do your research. So Willie moved out there first, and I moved out there in March of 2018, and then my homie Swaff did, and then like slowly but surely, like all of our friends from high school, because I've been knowing Willie and Swaff since I was like freshman year of high school at Princeton. I went to Princeton High School, so we all, like, most of everybody who's still down there and went to Princeton. I went like Lou know my homegirl Faith. Faith was like a few years behind us. She went to Princeton. She used to work for Love Renaissance, the music label in Atlanta. So like, it was like we all kind of had random connections to each other primarily through my homeboy Willie. Willie was the one that connected like me and a few other, like a bunch of other people from our friend group together. He's like the I guess like the architect of our friend group, because he's somebody, if you meet him once, you'll always remember him. And like and that's something that that's a personality trait that I've embraced moving to when I left Atlanta to move to Connecticut. Because to your point, moving down there with them or having them around them really helped me get adjusted to being like on my own. And then that kind of gave me the confidence and the foresight to be like, okay, I can do things by myself away from them. And I kind of wanted to challenge myself with that. So I didn't really want to leave Atlanta when I got this opportunity to move to Connecticut, but I saw it as an opportunity to be like, I can, Atlanta's not going anywhere. I can come back whenever I want to, but this opportunity that I have in front of me is like, this is kind of once in a lifetime. So I took that, and yeah, it's like, I'm me up here, but I'm always reminiscent of Cincinnati and Atlanta, because it's like, that's what kind of gave me and raised me and gave me the confidence to do what I'm doing now.
It's just for reference, Lou, because you won't know this. I'm a few years older than Nick, but we all wanted a shorty from either Winton Woods or Princeton. We all wanted one. Either Winton Woods or Princeton growing up in Cincinnati. That's where you wanted your shorty. Maybe one from Hughes, maybe one from Withrow, something like that. But Winton Woods and Princeton was always it.
It was Antioch and Whites Creek in Nashville.
Yeah. It was always like if you had a little shorty at Princeton or Winton Woods, you was doing all right in life. You was doing all right in life, man. That's kind of how it was.
I know what you mean.
The whole part.
You said there was a biddy that you wanted at Princeton.
No. I said like growing up, that's where like we wanted. I'm a few years older than you, but we always wanted a chick either from Princeton or Winton Woods. Like that's what like
during my era. So my freshman year in Princeton was 2008. The class from 2008, 2009, 10 to 11 was the best class ever to me in a long time in Princeton. That era specifically, because the biddies was bad. I forgot the names. I can't say the names though, because they probably married and got kids on. But it was bad, bro. I get what you're saying. Like to me, it was like there was from the city. I like CPS girls that they was the ones that
Hughes Withrow. They definitely had some. I had a little shorty Aiken.
Oh, Aiken.
Yeah.
Aiken is that's a random callback.
Yeah, that's a random callback. But my high school, I was freshman year was 2002. I graduated in 2005. And one thing about Cincinnati, man, the sport, especially hoop season, if you hooper, like, because we had some hoopers come through the city. So I would be at Winton Woods games. I'd be at Princeton's game because they was in the same conference. I went to Coleraine. And I'd be like, damn, who is he short? Like, I need to find out who they are. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just one of those things, man.
I remember them days, boy.
This chapter, man, chapter 33, just kind of give a little premise. And it kind of leads in. I want to talk to you about this, Nick. And obviously, Spike Lou, get your thoughts. Last week, I hit up Spike Lou. And I was just telling him, man, we were talking about a topic for the episode. And I was like, man, we got to talk about some fatigue because I'm finally starting to feel it. And it's been an interesting discovery because similar to Spike Lou, man, I would grind through something. I'll just keep going. Man. There's a goal. There's something I'm trying to reach. Ain't no days off. Do whatever you got to do to get there. For the first time ever, especially in this podcast space, I just felt like I hit a wall where I was questioning whether or not certain things were even making an impact, and questioning whether or not I was still being beneficial to some of the platforms and things like that. Just because you do so much at once. For reference, I got 6 different podcasts I'm a part of. There's only so many hours in the week on top of doing a full-time job and everything else that you want to do, having a social life, whatever the case may be. And to my surprise, Spike was like, man, shit, we talked about that earlier in the day. And then maybe an hour before we were supposed to record, he was like, man, speaking of fatigue, man, you just want to take it off for Juneteenth. And I was shocked to hear Spike say that. Like, shocked, because, Spike been doing this for a long time. Nick,
I'm going to say one thing. He got that from me, I should have known that because this nigga hit me up talking about something, and you still trying to record. I'm like, nigga, it's a holiday. It's a black holiday at that. He was like, oh damn, I forgot. I was like,
I didn't say I forgot, nigga. Shut up.
I was like, nigga, it's Juneteenth. What you? And it's Friday Eve. What you mean?
To your point.
But that's how I know he dedicated. I respect him for it. I respect him for asking. Because I think either he hit me up or I hit you up, and I was like, bro, I was like, nigga, it's a holiday. He was like, oh damn, I forgot.
And I did not forget, but that made me, to your point, say like, if we're gonna take the other holidays off, like we wouldn't. I told Rich this, like if it was the 4th, we wasn't gonna record, or if it was Memorial Day, we would have pushed it back. So I'm show the same respect to Juneteenth. And treat this like a real holiday as well. So that kind of helped. And we needed the break too. So, but I definitely did hit Nick.
Hey, that's that right wing Lou. He ain't even acknowledge Juneteenth, boy.
All right. He said right wing Lou. Right wing Lou is fucking nuts.
That's Nick. Nick then got the dead end fans running with that too.
Lou, conservative white man at heart, bro. I fuck with him though.
Hey man,
he know I be right. Nick know I be right, man.
I'm gonna get to you in a second, Spike. Man, I ain't fucking with you right now. But Nick, you've been in the game since you said 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. As far as in this space and trying to carve, so you know the plight of a creator, and we're just trying to get something to shake, something to pop off, get your ideas out there. Has fatigue been something that you run into since you've been in the space? Have you ever just hit that wall? You're like, man, I'm done with all this shit. I'm just done with podcasts. I'm done with the whole thing. Or have you always been steadfast when it comes to
it? Yes and no. I would say that yes, you do feel fatigue. You don't do something on a weekly basis, or I don't even say go to it, even if it's a monthly basis, and not feel tiresome of it after a while, unless it's something like you getting paid every week. Like it's like, something that's like I get a insurmountable reward for doing it. Yeah, for doing something. Yeah. So I have felt it. That's why I've challenged myself to reinvent myself in those moments. So moving from no disrespect to frames per second, in between that, Dead in Sports, and like little shows that me and Lou have, created in between, and other stuff. It's like I think it's more so fatigue of creativity, because there's only so many conversations you can have under the sun that's already been had. Like that's why a lot of people don't like relationships podcast or podcasts that just talk about pop culture, because it's like everybody's having the same conversation. That's why I like having the podcast that I don't feel fatigued with is sports and films and TV shows, because it's not something that I have to generate. It's just I have to commentate on it. When I have to generate something, which is what I did for No Disrespect, that got tiresome, especially when like I was the main one hosting, coming out with the outlines, getting guests, facilitating conversations, thinking about, and also editing. So like knowing, like even in the episode, knowing when to, if there's a long pause, I'm like, okay, I gotta write that down in the recording, so I know where to edit it. Like it was a lot of stuff like that, and that got tiresome because it's like it's a one-man show almost. Not to say I didn't have any help, but it was really more so on me. It was my vision. Fatigue does come from that, but that also means that you also have to challenge yourself to be a little bit creative and do things a little bit differently. And not everybody gets to that level or gets to that, to push through, as you were talking about with like with Lou and like how he grinds and kind of push through it. So like, yes, you do feel fatigue, but I think the true creators fight through that and use it as a challenge, because there's always opportunity in chaos. There's always opportunity or moments of growth when a challenge arises. So I tend to kind of think with that mindset more so than like, oh, I'm done with this shit. Because I have taken breaks, but then it's like you hear something or you think something like, damn, I wish I could talk to somebody about that, or I wish I could, you know what I'm saying? Like you get that, like, damn, I wish I could do this. And that means that, to me, that shows that you still have a passion and love for something if you think about it during your off time.
Yeah, you said something.
Point.
Go ahead, Spike.
I was gonna say that's an interesting point that you bring up when you talk about no disrespect, and like when you're doing like dating sports, for example, you and I do together. Like it don't take much to come talk about sports or film or movies, like you said. And that's one of the most draining things. And why I really understand our brother Mo from Book One about this podcast.
Literally, like, what I was getting. I literally was about to say the same shit you're saying.
I knew. Like the thing about this podcast is there's an emotional vulnerability that you have to have for the people that tune in, like because they come in here for this. Like we've set the tone for what this is going to be. And even when Rich and I tried to pivot to, all right, we'll lead with pop culture and we'll talk about these things, people called us out for it. And it was like, bro, I could go listen to Joe Budden or somebody else if this is what y'all gonna talk about. Not say that y'all can't do it, but there's a foundation that you guys set in order that we're expecting every week that we come here. And that's one of the most difficult things about doing this podcast versus any of the other podcasts that I do. And on the flip side of it, though, this is one of the more rewarding podcasts that I do. Like when people comment and the stuff that they say about us and this podcast, it's a lot different from the shit I get on Dead End Sports or the shit I get from On Deck or from Is the Mic Still On, anything like that. The feedback is a lot different and it makes you feel a lot different. But however, I do get what you're saying, Nick. There are just some shows that you do and some podcasts that you do. It's like I can't just show up and have the information. I have to be open and have a conversation about stuff. Like there's an emotional counterpoint to this where people that are listening, because they've gotten used to it, they don't want to come here to hear you talk about what Jim Jones said about Nas. They don't want to hear you come here talk about who just won the championship. They're coming here to hear relatable information from some people that are going through similar things that they're going through. And that's what makes it so, again, fatigue inducing and rewarding. Like it's a gift and a curse.
I want to throw my 2 cents in because that's exactly where I was going to take it, because Nick had just mentioned something about that creativity aspect and just talking about how you don't get fatigued with like music, sports, and movies. I feel the same way because I have a movie podcast, television podcast. Those are simple because I don't have to use my real life. The product is already there. The conversation is already manufactured. I just got to comment and I might use parts of my life because something might be similar, or I might see something in we did Bill Street could talk as well, and I might see certain things that I can relate to. And all right, then cool, give commentary. But every single week to come up with something, and it's I mentioned it's the first time I kind of felt doubt in this space because I can talk movies with anybody. I can talk TV with anybody. I can do that in my sleep. I've been doing that way before, I started pressing play. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a natural thing, a skill I think probably all three of us possess. But to feel that you're still making an impact or your voice is still resonating with people, that's been a struggle. And I think Spike and myself have been trying to, we had Dro on. I want to hear your opinion, Spike. I still think we're trying to figure out what this is right now without Mo, because that was such a unique thing and lightning in a bottle. And it took me maybe 20 chapters or so to realize, like, oh, this ain't going to be, it can't be book one. It just won't be. And I knew it going into it, but it really became more clear, especially when Mo was on our last episode, or whatever chapter it was, 31. He had such a unique perspective and such unique experiences. And, has a family compared to me and Spike being single and the whole nine. It's like, all right, then how do we make that same voice? How do we make sure that people get the same feeling that I got when I was listening to Spike and Mo? And is this still even resonating with people? And it's difficult, man. It's difficult to see if that's a real thing and if you still, like I said, have a voice. I don't know if you run into that at all, Nick. Or I know you mentioned how you have to kind of switch up your own creativity and maybe kind of rebrand some things. How long? And you did say something else I want to get an answer to. You say you're taking breaks before. How long breaks have you taken?
Well, like, first and foremost, to me, there's a difference between being a commentator and a personality. Yeah. Like a personality is like you mentioned, Lou, like Joe Budden. A commentator is like Nick Wright, Chris Broussard,
Bill Simmons.
type of thing. Something that like Bill Simmons is actually like a unique, a blend of hybrid. He's a hybrid, and that's why, and he's one of those people like him and Bill Burr and Bomani Jones, like people who could do single podcasts, nobody else. It's just me talking to you, and you'll be entertained by that. Like that's a very rare type of person to me, and I would commend them for that. But I tend to like the commenter lifestyle than the personality lifestyle, because as a personality, you keep giving. You know what I'm saying? You're a giver. You keep pouring your energy, thoughts, opinions, vulnerability into the ether, and hoping that garners, audience. As a commenter, you kind of still have your own sense of self that's protected behind the wall of the topic or the genre. Like you mentioned, Rich, like it's movies. Like,
yeah.
No matter, like you can't really get to know me past this movie. You just can agree or disagree with my opinion. That's it.
Facts.
You can't talk about Rich as the man, but as a personality, we can judge Joe Budden based off of the stuff that he does and says, because he's talking about his life and on top of that, his opinions on pop culture and all that. I tend to like having things separate because, like what I was talking about with the breaks is like sometimes like I just kind of want to be. I've always preferenced like, let me be me, let me be in my lifestyle. Like I don't like people who over critique someone's personal life just because I wouldn't want the same done to me. Because at the end of the day, we don't know most of these motherfuckers, like if at all. So I don't always feel like I need to give something to someone who doesn't even know me, if that makes sense. And the breaks that I've taken, like when I left Atlanta to come here, just like I had to take a little break, obviously, because I was moving and trying to figure out things and do all that. And then even with no disrespect, when the show kind of it ended like a black sitcom where it was like you ain't know that was the last episode.
Somebody went upstairs and never came back.
Exactly. You ain't know it was the last episode till it was the last episode, but I kind of alluded to it towards the last few episodes. But it was just something that is just like when you done, you kind of done. And sometimes I feel like there shouldn't have to be a justification for it. Like you shouldn't always have to have a series finale and balloons popping and saying like, all right, yeah, thank y'all for these years, these moments. Like sometimes niggas just move on. It's kind of like a relationship. Like I always told my homies and sometimes, and I always say certain things that sometimes I have to double back and say like, that was kind of wrong that I said that. But like, I always say like closure is overrated. You know what I'm saying? Like certain, like you don't need closure. You just want it. You know, like we necessarily don't need a happy ending or some line of a conclusion. We just are used to it and are, socialized, by the social construct.
I might even go ahead and say, just real quick, I might just go ahead and say seeking closure might have caused more issues for me in my life at times than just let you.
Yeah, because like some shit, it is what it is. Like, when
I never seek closure.
Yeah, that's because Lou's a dirtbag at heart, so I'm not worried about it with that. but some people with the heart, like me and Rich, like you want to say like, because again, if you watch a lot of media, you're accustomed saying like, oh, this is how things are supposed to go in life. This is how you deal with relationships, whether they begin or middle or end. And when I try to do that in real life, it's like, oh, this doesn't really work like that. Some relationships just end. Sometimes that last text message is literally the last text message. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you just have to figure out how to move on as your own, especially as a man, especially as a black man. Like, you're not always allowed to be vulnerable for too long. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's like a free trial with it. You may have 2 weeks, you may have 30 days, but past that, nigga, you should have been moved on by then. And I think for me, I've even felt that with certain podcasts, even with NDR, no disrespect. Like I felt like that. I was like, I thought I wanted closure, but then as time went on, I was like, I didn't really need that. Like you can go listen to those episodes if you want to. And it sounds like young black men who ain't know shit about the world, but they had a story, they had something to say about it nonetheless. And we invited people, friends, family, or whatever, to have conversations, but that was a chapter in my life and I had to move on. It's kind of like college. Like for those who went to college, like you don't always pass all your classes. You know, sometimes, you know, they say C's and D's get degrees too, but you learn your lessons in between that. Relationships don't always end well. Like sometimes you get cheated on, sometimes you cheat, sometimes it's a mutual split. Either way, you got to move forward. And I think for me, breaks help me realign myself and reset myself, because I think that's something that is underrated with people in general, especially in American culture. We're always work, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. And it's never, no one ever talks about like you go over across the sea, over the pond, they have what they call what fiestas and
holidays,
holidays and all that. Like I went to Ibiza back in 2015 with the homies. They shut down businesses from like 12 to 3. Like that's a normal thing. Like they open, but then they shut down to go have lunch and chill with their family, whatever, and then they come back later. You couldn't imagine if Chick-fil-A, they already closed on Sundays and people
pissed about that.
Imagine Chick-fil-A shutting down from 12 to 4 every day. Niggas is upset. You know what I'm saying? We don't give ourselves time to rest. And I've witnessed people pass away early because of that. We all know that someone who passed away earlier because they probably worked too hard and all that stuff. It's like we don't prioritize like taking breaks, and that's something that I've had to grow into and realize like that's needed, because who wants to have an overworked personality or overworked commentary? Like that's not you don't get the best content from
that. That's a great point. I want to circle back to that, but before I do, I want to ask you, Spike. Since we're talking about breaks, and I told you on the phone, I was a little bit surprised by you wanting to take a break, because I haven't known for you to do that. And I really thought about it like, yo, Spike been doing this for book 1 and book 2. And Nick mentioned closure. Sometimes you don't get it. And one thing as creators, I think all three of us can relate to, there's a joy and a passion when you start something. And when you start something, you never think about the end, right? You're just going ahead, you're going through with it. And sometimes the ending's there, you don't even know it. You never want to be the last nigga to know that this is the end. You ever thought about how long you can do another week in the books? You ever thought about how long you can actually carry that week in, week out? Or is it just wired in you right now? Or have you ever stopped and said, yo, I need to take a break from this. I need to take 3 weeks. I need to take a week. Or excuse me, a month. Whatever the case is. Like, can you allow yourself to get there?
That's a really good question. I don't think I can, because it's one of those, it's different for me with this and on deck, because those are like my children. Like those are my creations. Like I could take a break from Dead End Sports, or Is the Mic Still On, or Frames Per Second, or, you know, any of the other things that I do, because I feel like I'm a contributor. And not to take away my contributions, because I do feel like I add something to all of those shows. I think it's something different when you create something. And I know Mo told this story, like when Mo called me and told me he couldn't do this anymore. And my response was like, okay, like it's fine. Like you don't have you don't want to do it anymore. And I don't judge him or anything like that for it. But it didn't cross my mind one time as to like, oh, okay, well, this is it. Like it's over now. Like my mind immediately went to, okay, one, this is a conversation that would be great to have on air, because this is what we do. So I don't even really want to talk to you about it. And that's probably not like most of I didn't even call him when his child gave birth. So that's probably not the most friend thing to do in that moment, which I can understand now, and I probably didn't understand then. But having more conversations like I've had on here with Mo, with Dro, with people, it's like, bro, you should open up more and be more like personable in a sense, and things like that. Well, it's not, I won't say it's content over everything, but it's more interesting to me when it is content versus having this conversation with you now about why you want to stop doing it. So to answer your question, when he said that, when he was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore, it's draining, it's this and that, like it never crossed my mind as to, all right, well, that's the end of it. Like it's not going to be another week in the bush anymore, because it was something that I created and it hasn't reached the place that I wanted to be at yet. So I can't leave it alone. Same thing with On Deck. Like if AB called me and said, hey man, I'm good, bro. I don't got to do on deck no more. I wouldn't say, okay, well, on deck is over. Like what I would figure out is how to continue doing it in that format with other people. And I don't know if he feels the same way about it. I don't know if he thinks when he walks away from it, or if he walks away from it, that it would be like, okay, this is the end of an era or a chapter. But I don't look at it like that, because those are things that I created, and there's a vision in the creation as to I want this thing to get to here, and it hasn't made it to here, so there's still work to do before I can walk away from it. So no.
What got you to the point of where you openly admitted, like, yo, I got some fatigue right now too?
Yeah.
I don't think I would have heard that from you a year
ago. Life in general, like you and I talk personally, that one being one part of it. And two, having the ammunition to continue to do the things like this. So what got me there to make me start thinking about it was the feedback that we received from Phil, from Dro, from people that were listening to the show, and they were like, bro, why are y'all doing current events? Like, that ain't what we come here for. And then you get to this place where Nick mentioned this earlier. I don't really feel like sharing this week. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't even really in a place where what I'm going through or what I need or what this show is, I ain't really in a place where I want to talk to people about that. You know what I mean? So maybe you do need a break, take a week off, recollect your thoughts. There have been in a recent couple of weeks, it's like I'm not in a sharing mood, like what Nick said. It's like I'm more so in a mood of, you're facing this situation, handle it, get this shit behind you, then get back to your normal grind of what you do. So the fatigue factor for me is just not being in the sharing mood. And you can avoid those things like what we talked about earlier when you're doing movies and music and sports. Like, I can get up and talk that. It's easy, like just having an opinion on something. But again, the difficult things about platforms like this, and this is why I created it. So again, it's a gift and a curse. Like, you have to get on here for this show to be good and be authentic. Like, Jeff hit me up after the performance, like after he was on last week. Jeff was like, how do you think I did? Like, he texted me that. And I thought that was odd, because I don't think he would do that for his wrestling show or his sports show that he does. But he understands, because he's been listening to this since day one, what type of platform this is. It's like, how was my appearance last week? I told him it was great. But this is one of those shows where, yeah, it was absolutely amazing. But this is one of those shows where when you come on here, there's a level of vulnerability that you have to have in order for this to hit. And sometimes you just don't feel like being that vulnerable, which is what Mo spoke to when he walked away. It's like, I can't do this. I can't come here every week with having a brand new baby and doing the other things that I do and like essentially pour my heart out. I can do the other things. I can do movie and stuff like that he's doing. But what I created this show for, and it's effective, obviously, because we're talking about being fatigued from it. And again, what Mo said about it, like, this is a space as to where these conversations normally don't happen. Like, you don't hear three black men sitting up talking about, man, I'm tired, bro. I don't feel like doing this, that, and the third, my passion, my dream. Fuck that. I just need a week off or 2 weeks off. Like, we don't get to have those conversations out in spaces, because now you looked at it as, you soft. So.
Do you feel comfortable? Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was gonna say that's why we die at 65 and 75, because like niggas be having pent up frustration, fatigue, and all that shit. Because a lot of it's put. And again, I'm not trying to say black men have the most whatever. I'm not doing the herd Olympics, but as human beings and from a historical context and lens, it's like, bro, black men don't go through a lot, and there's a lot on their shoulders, and we are not allowed, especially these days in 2025, to speak on it.
Yeah, it's very few places for vulnerability.
No one wants to hear us talk about shit unless it's more about if we are taking care of something, or handling business and all that stuff, standing on business, all that shit. It's not geared for us to feel that way as men, as black men, all that stuff, all the layers. Which is why it's like, again, when you see like, damn, that nigga died at 55, damn, that nigga died at 60, damn, that nigga died at, it's like, of course. Because if you're not able to rest, if you're not able to be vulnerable, if you're not able to to say like I need a moment, then you're gonna run yourself like, and even a computer will overheat. Even a car engine can stop running. You know, if you don't put enough oil, like if you don't really keep up with the maintenance of it, if you don't turn the fucking thing off, it's gonna run out of gas. So it's just like I don't see how people don't understand that from our perspective, but they can understand it from everybody else's perspective. That's the weird thing to me. Is like I feel like what Will Ferrell said in Zoolander, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like nigga, like how the fuck do y'all not understand that I need a break? I need to get away from y'all, motherfucker.
I was talking to Dro, and I'll let you go. I was talking to Dro like 2 weeks ago, and we were just discussing some stuff. And he was like, "Bro, you've been he's known me my damn near my whole life. Like, bro, you've been working since you were 14 years old, full-time job, 40 hours a week to now. Like, you've been doing it. Like, maybe you need a break." Is what he told me. Like, maybe you should just take some time and just have a break. And it's interesting based off what Nick said, because only we recognize that in each other. Like explaining it to anyone else, like your moms and anything, was like, well, you know, you got to do this and do that, and there's not a lot of leeway for black men to be like, hey man, you know, I'm tired. I need like a week, 2 weeks, a month, or something like that.
You said something interesting too, Spike. I want to discuss here because it's on brand for you. You talked about how you went back and forth for an hour before sending that message to me. Like you really, like you struggled with admitting, or at least telling me. Was that more so because I'm your partner in this space on this podcast, or was it a you thing where I kind of what Nick just mentioned? I, as a black man, just feel like I don't have the space to admit or say that I need a break because nobody cares about that. Nobody wants that. And on top of that, do you feel comfortable now reaching out and saying, yo, man, I need 2 weeks. I need whatever. Okay, go ahead.
It was both, because one, we talked about what the episode was going to be about, and you know, we had already had the plans to do it, and I was like, well,
nigga said, speaking of fatigue,
we talked about it, so I was like, we might as well go ahead and knock it out. But on the other hand, it was like I could just like this could start the weekend early. I need a cool little 4-day weekend, and I just get out, move around, enjoy myself. Like you said when we talked on the phone the other day, like live some life. You know what I mean? Because we very rarely get to do that when we obligated to do all of these recordings and these different things that we've signed up for. So it was a little bit of both. And no, I don't feel comfortable still. Like sending, like the justifying reason is when Nick said, when Nick was like, it's a holiday, nigga. Like, and that's what really got me there. If it wasn't that justification of like, yeah, nigga, respect Juneteenth like you would Memorial Day or Labor Day or July the 4th or whatever it may be. Like any other one of these days, like we not recording on those days. We're gonna figure out a schedule to go behind it. And I wanted to lean into like, no, let's respect this holiday. So that was the determining factor. Those two reasons that you said were like a thought process, but those wouldn't have got me to send that text. What got me to send the text is like, nah, I respect this holiday. Like we work for this. These reparations, nigga.
So you would run yourself through on E before you go ahead and say I need a break.
Yeah, with most stuff. With most stuff I would. What we gonna do about this nigga, man?
No, I mean, but again, that's not something that I necessarily would even hold against anybody, especially an entrepreneur like both of you, or like as I know Luke from our personal conversations. It's like as entrepreneurs, or if you have that mentality, like there really is no off day. You know, an off day is a day that you're not making money or you're not reaching or moving towards your goal. And subconsciously, I'm aware that that's not necessarily something that's natural to us as humans. Like that's something, again, a social construct, an American idea of work. If you're not working, you being lazy type shit. Especially as a black man, no black man wants to be looked at as a broke ass nigga or as a bum ass nigga. And when you say that you want to do something, you're supposed to do it. Yeah. Most people that we see that we admire, they work they ass off, rain, sleet, snow, all that shit, post office jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter what's going on, we still got to deliver. And there's something commendable about that, but there's also like everything we do has consequences. Good, bad, or ugly has consequences. Even if you have the best idea, even the best intentions, and the most passion for something, there is a toll that you have to pay for that shit. And a lot of people don't think about it, especially when you're young and you getting it, because it's like, okay, I got all this energy in the world, I could do whatever, whatever. Even me till this day, like I stack a bunch of things in a day because I want to be as productive as possible, so that I can move on to the next day to be as productive as possible. But then I also that makes me, what they say, jack of all trades, master of none. It's like I have my hands in different pots, but I'm not really the best at it. I'm just good at a lot of stuff. And I'm getting to that point in my life. I want to be great at something. And I have to be great at something, you have to cut off shit. And I think I told this to Lou one time. I was like, bro, it's easy to be a great man than a good man. And no one understood what I was saying when I was talking about that. And I think the only thing that describes that is the show The Bear. Where, especially this most recent season that everybody was shitting on, season 3, where it was like, you saw what it took to be a great chef. And you see, and as great as he was, the toll that it took, the mental heartache and the physical fatigue and all that, and the relationship damage it caused. Like, that's what it takes to be great. You see what The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, that's what it takes to be great. You punching out white boys that you probably shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it takes to be great. And people commend these motherfuckers, but half the time you would never want to be these motherfuckers. As much money and all that stuff you had, like if you had to live in their life, if you had to go through what Michael Jordan go through with seeing his dad die on the side of the road for whatever reason, being that famous in general, like, you know what I'm saying?
Hotel, yeah.
Exactly. People like sending you pizza that's been sneezed and shitted on and all that stuff to where you have a flu game. Like, it's like, that's what it takes to be great. Like, you have to put everything to the side. And to me, it's like, it's easier to be great because it's like, if I eliminate everything else and focus on this one goal, I can achieve it. But if I take into account my relationships, if I take into account empathy for others, if I take into account morality and integrity, that's going to slow me down in my goal or reaching that, because I'm trying to do it in the right way.
That's good.
And that's where, to me, the fatigue is going to be shown in both. But the fatigue of a good man, that's why most of these niggas whose daddies is still in these, that's married and still in people's lives and all that stuff, that's why they sit in the damn driveway for 30 minutes before they walk into the house. Because it's like, nigga, this is the only time I got to meet. And for me to be the head honcho, to be the good man, now as I walk into this household, I need to be this right now because I'm ready to cuss everybody out. As a black man, there's a lot of days where you're ready to cuss everybody out because you feel like you're not being heard or you're not being supported the way you support others or how you listen to others.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. And also to answer to your question, Rich, from the examples that I see, like my mom's husband, we met his son on here, David. Even David, I would put in that consideration. Like my mom's husband, he's 80, in his 80s, and he'll still get up and like go. Like he doesn't have to go to that restaurant. He don't have to do anything at this point. Like he could lay out by the pool all day, but he still goes up there. He checks stuff, and it's like, bro, what do you own? That's like OCD. But he's like, nah, like he was like, when you build something yourself, you don't get off days. Like it's 24/7, like to the point that Nick said. I look at even Ken, like with what Ken has built with Dead End, it's like he don't get to be the one to say, hey, I'm sick today. Or like I can't record today. Like he get to watch everybody else do that, but he don't get to do that. And like I said, the same thing for my mom's husband, and even like where I used to record on deck at. I just had a conversation with the guy that owned that studio, and I was like, we was catching up, and we were talking about some business and renting studio space, and he was like, "Yes, I always just work with me, like what you been up to?" Because we hadn't talked for about. He's like, "Work," and these are successful people in their industries that I look up to. To go back to your point, Rich, and you asked like, could I see myself stepping away from it? I don't see it that way. I always see it as, okay, the work has to be done. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want these things, you see examples of these people out in the real world, people that you can touch and have conversations with and know. And there's one consistent thing with all of them. And that consistent thing with all of them, what they tell me is like, I just get up and do what I'm supposed to do every day. And that's how I got to a point where my restaurant has been around for 54 years. That's how I got to a point where millions of people are listening to my podcast network. That's how I got to a point of I'm this chef that people can call. That's how I got to a point of running a studio and having what else is David? He do a business? He's a business and some he do with business and accounting for stars or whatever it may be. But all of them have the same answer. And that's like what you said, Rich, what I get that from, it's from having conversations with them about what they do. And they always say the same thing. It's like, bro, I go to work. I work. Yeah. Like it never stops. Like nothing's going to stop it. Like even to what Nick's point was, even if it becomes like this thing, well, somebody passed today, damn, that's messed up. I got to go to work. Oh, this needs to happen. Yep, I understand, but I got to go to work. And listening to them say that and seeing their success, I understand or have it in my head that that's how you get there. Yeah, the other things that are involved in it too, the other things that go into the recipe of being successful, but the consistent that I've heard from everybody that I see on a level of where I want to be, they all say the same thing. I got to go to work. So.
That's interesting because I agree with you, and I know exactly what you mean when you say that. Isn't there a part of it where one would argue saying, hey, I built this, so that means I can step away when those things happen. I can take a day or two off. You know what I mean? And
I used to think the same thing, Rich. I used to think the same thing until I actually talked to the people that was doing it. And of course, like when David was on, he talked about his dad and they went to vacation for his birthday. They were gone for 2 weeks to Mexico, but it takes some time to get there. It takes works to get to that place. And yet there are days when you can be like, yeah, you know what? I'm shooting the shit today. You know, I don't feel like doing it. I'm going to take this specific day and do it, but you don't get to take long. And I think that's one of the scarier things in the stage of entrepreneurship that I am or that we are. It's like you may get comfortable with that day off and want to take another one, and then that leads into another one, and now your routine is kind of off. That's why I don't like taking breaks from the recordings that I do. Like I don't want my routine to be thrown off, and then me getting comfortable out of that routine and feeling like, oh, I ain't got to do that.
And that's insane. I'm gonna let you know right now, Lou. That's insane.
I understand that. I'm not saying that it's not, but I know that. Like, bro, I be explaining. Like, people ask me, like I told you, I was on the golf course talking to this white dude, and he was asking me what I do, and I was telling him about the podcast and explaining the schedule to him, and he said the same thing. Nick said, "Oh, that's insane. I couldn't imagine having that much to say and doing those things on a weekly basis."
It's insane because of the pressure that you put on yourself, and it's low-key doubt that you're putting on yourself too, coming from nowhere. Because you feel like because you are taking care of yourself, that means you're not taking care of anything else.
Okay.
And in my mind, that goes back to again the social construct of us not being allowed to feel vulnerable. Like the only way I can kind of equate it is like to studying or like school and all that stuff. Like, imagine you stayed up all night. You went to school, went to class, went to work and all that stuff, and you just kept staying up all night. And you just kept going. You never slept. You never sleep. Eventually, you're just gonna pass out. Eventually, you may end up getting a stroke. You may end up do something because your body needs that. Your body will eventually say, "I gotta shut this shit down." You know what I'm saying? And that's an extreme version of what I'm saying. But when I hear you talk about it, it's like the doubt that comes in is like, if I get off my routine no more, I don't know if I'm, if that iron is still going to be sharp. I don't know if that I'm still going to be as witty or as clever or as strong, you know what I'm saying, mentally. It's like, that doesn't determine that. You know what I'm saying? That's more so of living in fear. Living in fear of the unknowing of like, I've never done this, so I'm only going to assume the worst because of that. You know what I'm saying? And
that's a fair assessment.
And that's something that I've dealt with too, is like, because I have a lot of pressures and stuff like that. And people have to check in with me, like, bro, why do you think like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, where is that coming from? And once you start peeling back the layers of it, you can probably understand something that's about yourself, or maybe that's coming from a child experience, or just something that's recent that you saw, or someone that you know that you looked at or you looked up to and you saw that happen to. But to me, it's more about like, if I'm going to bet on myself, I'm going to bet on myself. Meaning that I could take 2 weeks off, I can come back and still be great. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, like I can work 5 days straight or a month straight and take a whole month off and come back like I never left. Like, if I'm betting on myself in this field, in this space, or in general in life, then that's a wholehearted thing. Only God gonna stop me from that point. So if I so when I live in fear is when I doubt my own ceiling, when I put limitations on my own self by saying like, if I do this and I can't do that, or if I do this and this is gonna fall off, or it's like, who says? And as humans, it's expected. You're not gonna be the hottest. We talk, Lou, you on deck all the time. You talk about the hottest niggas who in the streets, or like the runs that they've had. Them runs, how long them runs mostly be? By average is what, 4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
That's it. And you ain't never gonna be that hot again. You can still be consistent, you can still be relevant, but you're never gonna be that hot again. Okay. But in that time frame, no one can say nothing. And also the longevity speaks for itself. If I can keep it up to a level that you still keep me relevant. Like, to me, that's the thing, is like, as humans, like, we have to realize there's going to be peaks in our lives and there's going to be dips. And that's just a part of life. No matter what, you're not going to be the hottest female in the game. You ain't going to be the best dressed nigga. You ain't going to be the smartest nigga in the room. There's a lot of things. There's a time limit to all this shit. That's why it's so valuable. That's why it's more valuable than money. Because we all know that we got an hourglass turned around as soon as we're born. I know that may be a little bit morbid in depth, but that's just the reality of things. So that's why I don't really have to think. So that's why I don't really try to think like that no more. I just think in the present, like, what can I do to make myself the best version of myself today and help out? I call myself Tomorrow Nick. The things that I do today will help myself tomorrow. What am I doing to help myself tomorrow? How do I ease my day for tomorrow? And that's how I kind of try to take life in a sense. Now, obviously, you have overarching things, macro things that you have to think about, but the doubt that comes into people's head a lot is mostly based off of fear. It ain't got nothing to do with what the reality is.
That's a good point.
I was gonna say, that is a great point, because you speak of doubt, and I think about my fatigue, and just for the first time, it's like you mentioned something earlier, and unless you create something or build something by yourself, it is hard to really understand. I never knew how maniacal I could be about something until I started the podcast. Like, maniacal, like, just the stories you hear about Dr. Dre in the studio, like, this shit got to be perfect before I can even release it. It was one of them. Like, it started out that way, and I got more comfortable in it. But I understand when you say, I can't leave this. I can't take a break from this, because this is my baby. Right? Same way you said about when I asked about Another Week in the Books. That's how I feel about Culture World. That's how I feel about We Got Y'all. Now, look, We Got Y'all is a little bit different, because that's like me and Rachel. And Rachel's like the more TV person. And I don't think I could ever talk about TV with anybody but Rachel because of our chemistry and just relationship. Movies is different. But one of the things that I was, I'm in this game a lot less time than y'all, right? This is newer. And I think direction plays a big part in this as well. And sometimes if you don't have a direction, or it feels like your direction is lost, that can lead to it. And that kind of piggybacks on what Nick was saying, was like, your doubts are kind of about not real things. And I think I lost direction for a little bit. Like, really trying to be on something like, damn, where am I taking this? Like, where is this going? Not even where am I taking this? Am I going about it the right way? You know what I mean? Because I'm always a big believer in everything I do is reps for whatever's supposed to be meant, right? Like, even if, let's say, Culture Guard, Another Week in the Books, whatever don't pop off, this work that we're still doing right now is still going to lead. Wherever I end up, it's because of all of this. I'm a big believer. Getting these reps in, getting them shots up, the whole nine. But I also struggle. I feel like maybe I'm not even struggling. Maybe it's all in my head. But what's the direction? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I going about getting to these goals the right way? And that's one thing that I've been fine-tuning and being a lot more, like, meticulous about. Making sure that I know I'm not just showing up and recording. This has to have a meaning. This has to have a purpose. This has to be, what are we doing here? I never thought about that in the 3 years, however long I've been recording till now. And that's been a real thing, man. So I don't know. It's like I said, just trying to find your voice, trying to make sure it's still resonating. But I think when we get bookworms feedback, people who will listen to feedback, somebody told me recently this past weekend, like, yo, sit down for a second and appreciate the things that you've done. Like, you never get a chance. You never stop and smell your flowers. You never stop and just say, oh, you did this. Like, look at all the shit you've done. You've done. And I was telling her, what are you talking about? And she literally listed off like 5, 6 things that I've done just in this space. Like recently, accomplishments, things like that, big shit. And it was like, yo, like, relax, celebrate, smile, nigga. Like, it's cool. You ain't gotta have a Kobe. You ain't gotta have a Kobe Jobs not finish face all the time.
And
you just go ahead.
And that goes to my point that I was gonna bring up too. Is like, we don't celebrate our own success, our own progress. We always look at progress as like, oh, I gotta make this amount of money, or like I gotta be a millionaire, I gotta be a billionaire to feel successful. I gotta get this award. I gotta get this kind of girl, or, however you judge success. Like, I gotta get this. Everything in between then is just kind of whatever, like passe, whatever. And that is also eroding your own passion too, because you don't realize it until it's too late. Because if you're only judging yourself based off of benchmarks and not the journey, that's what I always talk about. The journey is as important, if not more important, than the goal. Because how I got there means way more to me than getting there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like, I always go back to speaking, going off of like taking breaks and coming back stronger. It's like, there's this story about this artist named Bon Iver. And in 2007, he made this album called Emma Forever Ago. Lou, I'm not recommending you listen to this all because you probably don't give a fuck about this. Rich, I don't know how wide your palette is for music, but that I don't care. But the story that it sticks to me is like, he, after a breakup with this girl, he went to a cabin in Nebraska, Minnesota, one of them white countries where North
Dakota,
state,
one of them places.
One of them white states that is snow heavy. He went out there to a cabin for 6 months and just lived on the land, and it was just right. Came back, recorded that album, one of his best breakout albums ever. And in between that, people were asking like, what happened? He was like, bro, I just needed time to get away, and I needed a break because I was going through so much emotionally that I would only want my pops to check on me every now and then, you know what I'm saying, to see if I'm alive. But outside of that, I was just doing me. And to me, I always envy that. I consider my time here in Connecticut similar to that. Well, nigga version, because going to Connecticut feels like I'm going to some random ass state.
Nebraska.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like, that was my time to be like, let me get back to Nick. Let me kind of retool and rebuild myself before I get back into the real big pond and all that stuff. And I feel like as men, as black men, or even just as humans in general, like, to me, that's why we love redemption stories. We love a comeback story because we want to see, can you go away and come back and still be you? A lot of niggas can't. That's why we still respect Wayne to this day, because we seen this nigga be literally a hot boy, go away, and then come back twice. One of the greatest rappers ever to do it, if not the greatest. And that's why no matter what, if you drop Carter 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, we still gonna remember that time. We're like, bro, I remember when he wasn't shit. And he proved to us that he was. And that's the mentality that I have. Like, no matter where I'm at in my life, regardless if you think I'm shit or not, I can come back and be better than I was back then. And I think that we don't give ourselves credit for that comeback story, even if nobody else will respect it.
You know what, Nick, that just made me think of, man, that's a hell of a point, because speaking of Wayne, I think sometimes we don't recognize, or we're comparing things to generational shit, right? So you think about Wayne's run, like it's funny, me and Spike were talking about this before recording. Not like Hot Boys, not Squad Up, not even Dedication, but when he got scorching hot. He was the feature king, Carter 3, all that era, whatever year that was, 06, 08, 06, 09, whatever. I remember he went away, he started doing his like Rebirth and all the rock shit. I remember Sorry for the Way came out. And like it was kind of like that the heat had kind of came off. He was still Wayne, but people were so used to that historic run that they were looking at that new music and be like, "Oh, this ain't shit. This trash." And school was doing that. I remember telling school like, "Hey, bro, this Wayne some heat." Like, nah, bro, I want that old Wayne. And I was thinking like, nah, we ain't getting it. I remember I had to sit him down. I had to sit him down and say, yo, you have to get your mind around the fact that we're not getting that anymore. And I think once you do, like, you'll be in a good place to listen to Wayne. I think maybe No Ceilings might have been the last little thing of that run. Like, No Ceilings might have been the end of it. And then it took a little bit of time off.
People say No Ceilings. I would say I Am Not a Human Being Part 2.
You can add that. You can add that in there.
That's the last, I would say, the last toothpaste squeeze out of the talent of Wayne, or that Wayne run, that legendary run. Facts,
man. And I think it's important to know that you can go and still come back and still a great version, but you compare it against yourself. That kind of is a sign of greatness. Once your only competition is yourself and your past work versus anything else out here, that's kind of your best thing that you can kind of say. And I think it's cool to just kind of take a moment to say, you know what I just did will never be done again, and I'm still nice with this. And then people will slowly but surely realize, okay, then I still got it.
And Lou, you know me, I like to keep it a bean. Most of y'all niggas ain't gonna be shit. Let's be honest. We talking all this positivity and all this whatnot. Most of y'all niggas not gonna be shit. Y'all ain't gonna be a speck in the history books at all. All the more reason for you to celebrate the wins that you have. Like, I always wake up right wing. I'm just keeping it.
Hey man, hey, listen. A lot of niggas can't get Google. You can't think about niggas. You know how many people can you Google? And stuff to come up. You feel me?
My thing is that you have to celebrate the fact that you can breathe on your own, the fact that you can walk on your own, the fact that you have two limbs as far as arms and legs, the fact that you can think without any machine, like all that stuff that we take for granted. I pray on that every morning before. I like to take a shower after I pray because I feel like I'm washing away my sins. You know what I'm saying? But I always pray about the little things that we take for granted. Because Lou, just like how women always talk about men being sick and how we act like kids, was like you don't really appreciate being healthy until you're sick.
Facts.
You take that for granted every fucking day. So to me, it's like it's those wins that mean as much to me as being successful. Because I could have $1 billion right now, but if I get cancer and my life expectancy is 2 years, then what does that mean? That money ain't gonna be able to buy me. That money ain't gonna buy me
2 years to ball out.
2 years to be Mr. Nigga. You know what I'm saying? To the ultimate level. You know what I'm saying?
These 2 years gonna be crazy.
Exactly. But then But then that last month that you have, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. All that money don't mean shit. The biddies don't mean nothing. Well, the biddies don't mean nothing to the last day. But I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff don't mean like all that stuff. Yeah, like all that stuff is irrelevant because you know that like your clock is ticking. That's why I'm saying like I don't care if you are going to be the president or you're going to be the fry cook supervisor at McDonald's. The fact that you still breathe and living is like a lot. Like Nip ain't here right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a nigga that a lot of people would say like we could trade a bunch of people's lives for because of the impact that he had, but he ain't here right now. Jesus died at 33, 36. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't get to live long lives, but they made an impact. But I bet you that you got a bum ass nigga that's living until 99, ain't done shit with his life. He should celebrate the fact that he got that long, just based off the fact of there's greater people before me that didn't even live this, like that get to experience this much time. And I just feel like no matter where you are in your life, you have to celebrate the wins. That's the only reason why life is really worth living, is the fact that you can sit back and enjoy it.
That's real. Because I think about people who are parents who don't have the luxury of taking time. I mean, they might be tired of shit, but to your point, Nick, that's a win. But that's a win for them, right? Their family is a win. That's the stuff that you got to appreciate to say, all right, all of this is worth it. Even on those days you're tired. I'm sure there's people like, man, y'all niggas talking about this, that, and the third, man. I provide for other people. I ain't got the time to do this. Well, shit, you made that choice, man. Count it as a dub because that's what you want to do.
As a parent, having a healthy kid, that's the only thing I care about. Back in the day, niggas was like, I want a son, I want this. Like, fuck all that shit. I want my baby to have 5 fingers, 5 toes, healthy, can breathe on it. Like, cause you see you see them commercials that come at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning where you got Lou, you know what I'm talking about? Baby look like something from Total Recall. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, hey Lou, imagine when you ready to have a kid, if that's ever gonna happen. And the first thing you see is like, oh, this motherfucker a mutant. You know what I'm saying? Like, you be like, bro, I could give a fuck if it's a boy or girl. I got a mutant.
It take Nick to bring it out. Like I was having this conversation this weekend. Actually, this little young bitty. She was like 26. She was like, I want 7 kids. I want to live on a farm and live off the land. And I was like, oh, that's cool. She's like, how many kids you want? I said, none. And then she get to asking me how old I am and have I ever been married before? Have you ever had like this, that? And I was like, nah, I'm cool off all of that. I don't need any of that. But to your point, Nick, if I did, that's what I would want them to be healthy. That would be it.
And that's simple. But, that's nothing complex. Like when you get older, you realize how much shit you really need. You become more minimalistic because you realize like what shit really matters and what don't. When you're young, that's when all this shit is like, I want this, I want that, you want the best of everything. And then when you realize like you don't need all that, it's like, all right, I just need to first and foremost be healthy. First and foremost, have a roof over my head, food in the fridge,
being able to provide for them,
being able to not even really provide for others, but at least for yourself. You got to start with self. That's the thing. Is like when you're a parent, of course, that's the case. But like even as the parent, you got to provide for self first. Them kids don't mean shit if you can't do nothing for yourself.
Yeah, you can't be good to other people if you ain't good to yourself.
You can't bless others if you're not blessed yourself.
Yeah. That's true.
You ain't never seen a bum give out money.
Nick stupid, man.
I'm just saying. You ain't never seen a generous homeless nigga. Like
that's fair.
They always want them to clean some shit up though. They always want them to clean some shit up, wipe the windows off. Yeah, wipe your car down. You want some white?
Every nigga's down for every nigga's down for a transaction, but no nigga, no bum have you ever seen as generous as hell, except Jesus. Jesus was the only nigga that was a carpenter, and he probably was a shitty one at that. You know what I'm saying? Like he was the only one that was like, all right, I'm gonna do this for the people off GP.
Yeah, that's true.
That's real, man.
One thing I will say, I was gonna say to. I know you was finna wrap as far as what we were talking about, Rich. I think one of the most effective things to fatigue is having a plan. And I think a lot of people fall short of planning out what the endeavor is. And you and I'll use an example, Rich, because I'm sure you don't mind. And it ain't your fault, it ain't my fault. We just haven't done it. Just planning out what we want from another week in the books. A lot of the things that you said about the wall that you've hit is because we haven't really sit down and planned out what we want this to be. And I know that's one of the problems with a lot of my endeavors, like just showing up, doing the thing, doing it well, receiving positive feedback and understanding that you can do it. That's fine. But that can also lead to fatigue if there is not a plan in place to say, okay, we're hitting these benchmarks, we're doing these things, what's the next step? A lot of times in entrepreneurship and people just in general, when they get stuck in the everyday mundane ways of life, it's because, oh, you didn't have a plan in place. You're just showing up and you're doing the thing because you're good at it. You're just showing up and doing the thing because you have access to it. What's the plan? And I know that's one thing that you and I both could get better with, Rich, in this partnership of ours together. We've talked about it. We just haven't done it. And that ain't your fault nor mine. It's just being busy people doing the thing, like what we're talking about. And that leads to fatigue. But my advice to the people listening to this show and to come here for that is like, focus on the plan. Like there are a couple of stages in like entrepreneurship and creating things. Like first you have to understand that you can complete the process. Like you can do the thing. All right, now that I understand that I could do the thing, I got to show up every week and continue to be productive at that thing. And then you get to the planning stages of, okay, I have a proof of concept. I have the thing that I know that I'm well at. I have a response to it. I know that people are reactive to this thing. What's the plan to continue to put this in the direction as to the place that I want this thing to end up at? And I think a lot of people fall short, me included, of what is the plan from A to Z. And even if it don't make it to Z, like you said earlier, Rich, there's going to be a path that it veers off into in the process of this plan where like, oh, okay, it led me to here. And this led me to that bag or this opportunity or this access. And now that fatigue is somewhat coped with because I see progress. And that progress came because I had a plan in place. So that would be my feedback to the people who are also feeling fatigued as we do. Put a plan together.
Absolutely. That's why I said, man, like just not having that vision for making sure that it's going about the right way. That's a big part of the fatigue. So you hit that nail on the head. Nick, you got any closing words before we get out of here?
Just I think for me, based off this conversation, just take time to rest and reset. Don't be afraid to rest and reset. Like even if however you get it, I say Beyonce got the same 24 hours that we do. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be as great as you want to be or whatever, but I'm sure in that 24 hours she takes some time to rest. So you can as well. Because you damn sure ain't gonna be as great as her. But you should at least be able to take the moment to kind of figure out what works best for you. For me, I do something throughout the week. On Fridays, that's my day for me. I do something after work, or if I have that day off, I just do something for myself that day. Like no matter if I'm upset, happy, sad, whatever the fuck, like I do something for myself that day because I can at least guarantee that I'm going to have a good day throughout the week. I think a lot of times we expect good things just to happen to us, or we allow things to happen to us to dictate our mood, and that's not how I think you should live life like in an effective way. You should be able, you can truly control a lot of things in your life outside of a few the main variables that you can't control. So I would just say the main thing you can control is when you rest. So do that.
I meant to ask you this earlier too, Nick. How many days a week do you think you have for that? Like, how many days a week do you have where I can do whatever I want?
Like for the rest of my life?
No. Like in a week, you take Sunday through Saturday.
Oh, like a full day itself?
Or whatever. Like I know we gotta work, but I'm just saying, how much? Like how many days do you have? Like, hey, I could. Is it one of those things where I have 4 hours each day? Do I have one day in particular where I can do whatever I want? How's that look for you?
Every week you have at least one full day throughout the week, and additional 4 hours every day. There's 4 hours in a day where you could do something for yourself. Whether that's going to lunch for an hour at a spot that you've been wanting to try for a while and you just, never made the time for it. But one of these days you just say, fuck it. Whether that's taking a nap for 30 minutes when, just to kind of, get some rest in. Whether that's taking a whole Sunday to go work out, clean up your crib, get shit ready for the work week. Like there are times throughout like, again, 24 hours is a long time. Most of the time, you try to manage it to get a full night's rest between 6 to 8 hours. So then you're left with what? Probably 16 hours left, and then other 8 maybe for work. So you still got about 8 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours to do whatever you want between work and sleep. So that's the time that I always think that no one really talks about. So I think if you really try, again, I know people are not always planning out their lives day to day like that. But if you look at it from that standpoint, like you have a lot of time for yourself for me time. Now, I know some people have kids and a wife and all that stuff, so maybe that's divvied up differently. But nonetheless, you have 8 hours to play around with, I feel like, throughout the day. Yeah. For most people who are, 9 to 5ers and all that stuff.
I usually try to give myself Friday or Saturday. Those are the 2 days. One of those 2 days was like, I'm gonna go get me something good to eat, Gonna go to a movie. Gonna go people watch, like chill, shop, whatever it may be. Like one of those 2 days for me. What about you, Rich?
So yeah,
I seen you at a nice restaurant on IG this week.
Yeah, I'm always, man. I'm always. That's my thing, man. Like going to a nice restaurant, trying some new food. I'm a foodie, man, so I love that. Just traveling, man, and just trying to new experience. So especially in the fall, like I already got my Bengal schedule mapped out as far as what cities I'm going to. But and the reason I even asked this because I was thinking about like best episode ever. And like, how am I going to where am I going to have the time to do Breaking Bad and best episode ever and another week in the books and Culture Garden and we got y'all and the Bengals podcast? That's 6, right? Like, where am I going to find the time? And that's what I was thinking about it. Like, man, do I need to start stacking up days? Because right now it's a little flexible because everything's not in full effect. But there's going to be a time in the fall where I'm running all these things at once, and I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. Normally, Friday is my day where I might go to the movies. Because even then, that's the other thing too, man, with all the stuff that I'm doing, especially with some of it being TV movie related, some of that time.
Even then you work
it. Yeah, it's prep time. Like, I'm watching stuff, I'm trying to get prepared. Yeah. So it's about finding that balance. But I do have a planner, like not just my phone. I actually have a physical planner because it does help me. And I've said this before, you gotta plan your free time. Like free time just ain't gonna pop up when you're busy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, so I literally write down in my schedule like free time. Like do what the fuck you want to do. Friday from 5 to 10. Saturday from time you wake up till 6 p.m. Do whatever you want to do. That's your time, bro. If you want to be on the game, you want to do whatever, man. Don't think about work. Don't do nothing podcast related. But the other days, grind that shit out. Do what you say you want to do. Either that or quit. And I ain't quit. So it's one of those things. We figuring it out in real time, man. So Nick.
Great appearance, Nick. Great job, my brother.
No problem, no problem. Let me know when that Bengals podcast go through. I be trying to talk sense to people I've done this sports, but these niggas, they think I'm caping. I keep it a bean about everything, nigga.
I'll tell you right now, you got an open invite to the Bengals pod. You got an open invite to Culture Garden. Everyone to talk movies. We can definitely do all of that, man.
Let me know. I'll make
for sure. Nah, we definitely make that happen, man. So definitely appreciate you. We'll have you back on here. We got to get us with Portia. Have another episode like that. We have a conversation. But with that being,
I was gonna say, and I appreciate y'all once again, like for allowing me to be on this platform. I appreciate I really respect what y'all doing. Me and Lou have been hitting each other back and forth as far as when my guest
trying to schedule this out.
Hey, it's been for about a year. It's
has been a long time. Like,
I'm glad I was able
I'm glad we finally make it happen.
Yeah. So,
man, this is definitely worth it.
Y'all definitely doing something right and for the people. So I just want to make sure y'all get y'all flowers now. That we appreciate y'all.
I'm gonna receive that, man. Cincinnati always.
Yeah, that's the main reason I came through. I don't give a fuck about Lou. I was just represent for the city, nigga.
That's what I told. Like when I first told Spike, I said, bro, I was disappointed in Spike. I said, man, you mean to tell me we both from Cincinnati? You ain't trying to connect us or nothing?
I tried to link y'all.
I told you, Lou is a dirtbag at heart. He could give a fuck about a lot of things.
You know, it's so funny. It's so funny when Nick say these things because I know he's basing these off personal conversations. When I'm being completely honest with him, with shit I would not say on the microphone in front of the camera.
But that's
and then he bring.
The funny thing is that's his charm. That's his charm. I've been around. That's the thing he don't know, like, or he may know. I've been around a lot of different type of niggas, so I understand certain levels of it, and I find it hilarious. You know what I mean?
Oh man, Nick, you a solid dude. I love you, brother.
All right, love y'all too, man.
Y'all be cool, man. Appreciate it. Hey, let's get better this week, bookworms. Remember, we'll be off next week. We'll catch y'all the week after that for chapter 34. Nick, thank you again. Where can they find you also before you get out of here?
You can find me through the Dead End Network. So FPS Podcast. FPS Podcast is the handle for IG, Twitter, the Reddit thread for our Frames Per Second podcast, where we review movies and TV shows. I'm on there occasionally, not all the time. I used to host it from like 2019 to 2023, but then once I left, I just go make a lot of guest appearances. Right now, we're going to be reviewing Ironheart, the Marvel show. They recorded their first episode today, so I'll be on moving forward. But make sure y'all check that out. And then every Tuesday night, Dead End Sports, you can catch us on YouTube live Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. deadendsports.com or youtube.com/Dead End Sports. That also Dead End Sports is our handle for Reddit thread and I think IG and Twitter. Those are the main places you're gonna find me.
Appreciate y'all. Go out and support Nick, man. Nicky Blanco, Nicky Respo. We gonna figure it out. We'll
figure it out. Next time I come through,
Nicky
next time I come through, we gonna have something new.
Nicky Azul, like you know what I'm saying? We'll figure it out, man.
That's funny.
But y'all be cool, man. We'll see y'all next chapter. Take some rest, man. Get some rest if you need it. We'll do the same, and we'll talk to y'all soon, man. Let's get better next week.
Peace.